What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Noogle's YouTube channel. This past weekend was Pittsburgh Regionals, and if you don't know, I was there. I made an appearance playing Ogerpon box, and it's just straight Ogerpon. A little backstory for those who don't know. There was a couple of limitless tournaments that this deck got first and second back in like late July, early August, and when that happened, I started playing the deck. It seemed fun. It seemed really cool. It has a lot of my favorite things. I'm a big like Thornton Ninja Boy fan, which is why Ogre Mask is always fun because you can just swap out your Ogerpons and stuff like that. I'm a big basic. Let's go fast. Let's take knockouts. Let's beat our opponent before they could do anything before they set up, kind of thing. And so when I saw this deck do well, I was like, yo, that deck looks sick. And so we started from there. I want to give a shout out to I think it's called DeHubs. I think that's how you say it. DeHubs TCG. That's their Twitter handle. They're the one who made the list. I think I changed maybe like a Psychic Energy. I think I cut to Terra Orbs. I kind of just play like more consistency base. And the reason why I did, not consistency base, but more like linear like base. I did that because I just wanted to not have to worry about like price checking as much, and not have to worry about like all these like one-ups and stuff like that, just trying to make my deck searches quicker and stuff like that. And also with like the Terra Orbs that the original list had, there were some situations where I needed Pokemon outside of the Ogres, and so that's why I cut those cards and changed and stuff like that. But that's all. This deck is 100% made by DeHubs TCG. So make sure you check them out on Twitter. They're doing fantastic things. They did great. I think at NEIC, if I remember correctly, they actually did fantastic at Pittsburgh as well. They actually went to Pittsburgh, and I think they got 46, so that's pretty sick. So they got 46. They actually been winning like cups with and stuff like that. And I think they did, like I said, I think they did well at NEIC with it. Yeah, 35th at NEIC, going 9-1-3 with a very similar list. Obviously, some of these cards aren't there just yet, right? Like the ends plan and stuff like that. But anyways, enough of me ranting about the deck list. That's what it is. It uses the Ogerpons to switch different matchups. Grass is actually a great attacker. There's been so many situations where I would just like use Miri Leaf Shower, just put a ton of energies on this thing and just like take knockouts, and if your opponent can't respond to it, then you can easily just win games from there. Cornerstone is great for Pokemon that have abilities. You just like shut them down, and there's so many matchups that this just auto wins you the matchup. Like Golden Go, for example, we hit 2 of those and we beat both of them. That's the big one. The Pika decks, those are pretty good because of Cornerstone and stuff like that. They might play like Iron Hands once or something like that. But if they do an Iron Hands, you can punish them with the Teal Mask Ogerpon and just one-shot them back and stuff like that. Wellspring Ogerpon is great because everybody's playing setup decks now and nobody's playing Shaman. And if they're playing Shaman, well then that's a less consistency card in the deck and stuff like that. Trenchal Pump just doing a bunch of stuff. Also, Sob is really busted. A lot of decks aren't playing switches or switch outs, and I've won multiple games, just like late game, Boss, Fezandipiti, Sob. And then, alright, well, we'll just scoop it up, let's just go. And I'm like, cool beans. Because I usually don't run through my deck that quickly, and that's nice, right? You also can do sob, bring another Pokemon up that's on the bench, like a Mew or something, sob that, and then like Trenchal Pump them both. Once it's late game, I did that multiple times, so that's really cool. Bloodmoon is just good. It does 240. Ton of damage. Squawkabilly for that turn 1 Squawk and Seize. With this deck, you really do want to go first, though. You want to try to get multiple Ogerpons on the field, get energies onto them, and that way turn 2, you can start swinging ASAP, right? You can start Teal dancing, get the energies on the field, attach energy to like an Ogerpon, a Water Pond if you want to, get that start setting up. Latias is great for that free retreat. We talked about, everybody's not playing ways to get out of Ogerpon. That's because a lot of decks aren't playing the Latias. We are as well. Mew EX is a great inclusion. You can copy attacks. I just realized that this deck is missing something very important. There is no Lillie's Clefairy, and I didn't put a 2 there. Hang on. if you started the video and you didn't realize it, you didn't know there were 2 Lillie's Clefairies. They're there now. Bing! Magic of the internet. But Mew is great for that Geno hacking. You can copy any Pokemon's attacks, right? Of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it. This is great in search of matchups. You can just, you just copy them. And you can pretty much get it anywhere, use it at any moment with like the Ins Play and Energy Switches. Lillie's Clefairy is obviously great for the Dragon Ball matchup, great for the Rage Bolt matchup and stuff like that. So this deck really does, like, punish the main decks, right? The Raging Bolt, the Golden Goes, the Dragon Bolt, and of course, I think Guardy is a little bit rough, but if you can Wellspring enough and take a quick knockout, it's kind of the same thing we talked about earlier. You can really like hurt them and they can't set up and stuff like that. So that is kind of the big plan there. If you can go for the Wellspring, turn 1, get a bunch of energies and stuff like that, you could have potential. And I always like going first and blind, but going second if I know they're playing decks that are kind of setup based and I lost game 1, I would try to go second to try to get the donk. Or to try to take quick knockouts, if that makes sense. You usually don't want to go hyper aggressive for the knockouts turn 1, which is why I like going first, especially against decks you don't know. Once you know their deck, you can definitely play a little bit differently and stuff like that. And in some matchups, you do still want to go first, like in the Rage Bolt Noctowls, you want to go first. Anything that's set up like that. But I think if you go second against Guardy, that's fine because they don't play Fan Rotom. So hopefully that makes so much sense. Guardy is fine going second because you can take a knockout and they can't use Arven and stuff like that. While Rage Bolt and other decks that play Fan Rotom, you want to go second or first to try to set up to take out their Noctowls and stuff with the Wellspring, right? Fezandipiti draw cards, Iron Bundle to get a Pokemon to bench deactive. Also, Refrigerated Stream is a really cool attack. If the defeating Pokemon's evolution, it can attack during your opponent's next turn. And that is good against like Crustle and stuff like that. So yeah, just little secrets out there, right? The list, I try to make it as, the original list was already really consistent, but we just play 3 Iono, 3 Research, 3 Balls, just like trying to maximize their consistency. 2 Penny, you can pick up a damaged Pokemon. Put it back in your hand. If somebody is locked in the act spot, you can Penny back into your hand and stuff like that. You can pick up like bench Pokemon. If you're playing against like a Golden Go deck, you can like Penny your Pokemon up, so you only have Ogerpon in the field and stuff like that. So that's really nice. End's Plan is a very funny card. Move up to 2 energy from your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon. Now, it is any energy, so any 2 energy comes to bench the active is really strong and really cool. It could be the Prism energies, it could be the Legacy energy, because it doesn't say basic energy, it is any energy, and then you get attached, and then you get an energy switch, and all of a sudden, you have attackers out of nowhere, which is pretty cool. Everybody has free retreat because of Latias, so if somebody's hurt, you could treat and plan up and stuff like that if you want to. 4 energy switch, just to get the energies off Ogerpon and swing with whoever. Turtle Pump is, like I said, crazy, but you do have to shuffle the energies back into your deck. We are playing 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Nast Ball, just max the consistency, trying to find a Pokemon. Also trying to discard some of the Ogerpons so you can Ogre's Mask them out, which is pretty nice. 3 Earthen Vessel, so you can find your grass energies and stuff like that. I know the original list was playing like Psychic. I've seen Psychic and Water and stuff like that, but I just went with straight 8 grass. I just wanted, like I said, just being super consistent and like don't worry about pricing and stuff like that, and that's kind of why I went that way. 2 Night Stretcher can get back your energies, can get back basic Pokemon and stuff like that if need be. You do have the Ogre Mask plus Night Stretcher, which is pretty cool. And Ogre's Mask, this big one I keep talking about. Choose a Pokemon EX in your discard pile that has Ogerpon in its name, and switch it with one of your Pokemon EX that has Ogerpon in its name. Any attached cards, damage kind of special conditions, turns of play, and any effects remain on this new Pokemon. So that's how we're kind of doing the thing. Obviously, we're not playing the Fire Pawn. I don't think it's good, if I remember correctly. So yeah, that's how this deck kind of works. You Ogre's Mask and switch out and stuff like that. I remember, before we jumped around, just a little tidbit, you get do crazy things, like I had 6 energies on a Teal Mask, and then I Ogre's Mask it to a Wellspring Ogerpon and took back to 4 prize cards back to back because that has 6 energies on it. So that's pretty insane. 8 grass, 4 Prism, and if you don't know Prism, this card provides a colorless energy. It doesn't provide a colorless energy now unless it's attached to a Pokemon, but if the Pokemon this card attaches to a base Pokemon, this card provides every type of energy, but provides only 1 energy at a time. But you can have multiple Prism energies on it. if need be. And Legacy Energy is our ace spec of choice. As long as Pokemon's hatched, Pokemon provides every type of energy, but provides only one energy at a time. The big thing here is if the Pokemon this card's attached to is knocked out by damage from an attack, for every opponent's Pokemon, that player takes one for your prize cards. And I was talking to my friend Dylan, and he was like, "Oh, it's like Life Dew and Prism Energy combined." And I was like, you know what? That is a great thing to say. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's good. It's great to slap Legacy on energy against the Raging Bolt. That's how you make this matchup so well, right? Some people are like, how do you beat Raging Bolt? You're trading 2 for 2s. Well, that's one of the answers. You can Legacy a Clefairy and take, they have to take a one prize card, because if they don't, what are they gonna do? Boss around it, and then Lillie's Clefairy just smacks them again. It's weird stuff like that, right? That is what makes this deck so good. And what's cool about this deck is multiple times throughout the tournament, I was playing against people, and they're like, oh, I start Ogerpon, and they're like, oh, he's playing blah, 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 and they would have no idea what I was playing, which is, the great thing about this deck. And a little subject I want to talk about just real quick. There was some, ranting on Twitter or X, whatever, about, hey, we should make deck lists public. And I was like, I hate that idea, because lists like this wouldn't exist. My opponents literally had no idea what I was playing. Yeah, right? I dropped in plan, and they're like, oh, I didn't expect that. Oh, I didn't know that. Blah, 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 right? Oh, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know you were about to do this, right? And that's where in plan is really good. And if your deck list is public, they would know that. People can argue whatever you want with me. That's silly. This deck was not on anybody's radar at all, and so be able to do this was so cool. I won so many games, but opponents just didn't know what I was playing. They were like, oh, he's playing Terrapex. Oh, he's playing Raging Bolt. Oh, he's just bad and playing a random deck, right? So, no, it's actually really good, and that's one of the things I, like about Pokemon, is you can always play random decks, and they can be good, right? So yeah, just a tidbit about that. But anyways, let's talk about the tournament. We're going to do a kind of a rough recap. I don't remember everything, just because I can't remember stuff anymore, unfortunately. I do have what matches I played and stuff like that, so we'll talk about them. Surround only play against Raging Bolt, knocked out. We actually had to wait an hour or something like that, because people didn't show up on time at the Pokemon tournament. Get to Pokemon tournament. Just get there early. I know there was a line outside, but the door opens at 7:30. You didn't show up till 8:20. That's your fault. I don't care if there's a line outside. That's your fault. Get there the hour early when the door opens. That's all I'm going to say about that. You can argue with me if you want to. That's my opinion. But we're playing against Raging Bolt knocked out. I don't remember much about this game. I win. We had a great time talking beforehand about the old days. He has played Pokemon for a long time. And we were just talking about 2008 Pokemon, clay dolls, and stuff like that, and having fun, and living the good old days, as they would say, because I'm an old fart. So that's fun to talk about. I don't remember much. This matchup was pretty good for us. You can knock out the Noctowls, like I said, with the Ogerpons. You can one-shot their Rage Bolts. You actually could one-shot their Ogerpon EX. I don't know where I did this at. This happened multiple times. They put energy on their active Ogerpon, and all of a sudden you could put 5 energies on it, and that's technically a knockout. Once you have 5 energies on this guy, you're taking a knockout. So like I said, you can use ability, attach, turn 1, and the next turn you can use ability, attach, energy switch, that's 5, plus there's 6, plus the base, that's 210, right? So keep that in mind. You can do crazy stuff like that, which is possible. You could probably double energy switch if you want to, or ends plan to actually hit that as well. I don't know if that happened in that game. I feel like it did, but I don't know. But with Lillie's Clefairy and stuff like that, it's a really good matchup. They can't one-shot the Lillie's Clefairy outside of Raging Bolt, so that's pretty cool. So we lost that one. Next time we played against Golden Go. They did play a 1-1 scissor line, but we would just punish them over and over again, pick up their scissors and stuff like that. And like I said, early game, you can drop a couple Pokemon. You just got to make sure you don't have 6 prize cards on the field for them, right? And also, with the Scizor, obviously I didn't know what attacker they were playing with the Golden Go, but after game 1, I, limited my bench so Scizor can't do any damage, and we just win, that way. In game 3, round 3, we're playing against a Dragapult Dusknoir deck. I think this one was just really quick. I was able to Wellspring and just take multiple knockouts. It says win-win, and I remembered this round was somewhat quick. So I think we just Wellspring, did a bunch of things, got the energies, kept Torrential pumping, and just taking multiple prize cards. Round 4, we played against another Golden Go. This one played a 2-2 Scizor line, which is pretty crazy. Once again, same thing. Game 1, I bench punched Pokemon, and then it was a little scary, but we were able to pull it out. I don't remember exactly how close. I know Game 1 was close, but the Game 2, once we realized they were playing Scizor and stuff like that, we can just, sit there and demolish and stuff like that, and which is great. If you keep your bench low, they can't take a knockout and stuff like that, or your Pokemon low, because it does damage based on abilities. So if you just keep, not a lot of ability-based Pokemon, Scizor can't do any damage. Sometimes I'm scared, because the only reason I'm scared sometimes is because when I was testing, I played against a bunch of Golden Go Armarouge online, and that matchup is actually very scary for this deck. But the Scizors are fine as long as you don't overcommit. I know that Scizor is great for the Terror box list with the knockdowns and stuff like that, and they only play one Ogerpon or one Fighting Pond or something like that. So that is a great matchup for them. In my matchup, not so much. So we're 4-0, we're feeling great, we're living life, and then round 5 we hit Crustle, right? And Crustle, it isn't winnable for sure. It is, but it is a very difficult matchup. So you can do things like demolish with Ogerpon and stuff like that. But you have to two-shot the Crustle, so you have to hope they swing into, because let's see, Crustle TCG. I'm 99% sure. Yes, it has 150 HP. Ogerpon only does 140. So the plan is they swing into an Ogerpon. You can either Penny up and send it to Ogerpon, or you can Teal Mask to it and punch them, and then punch them again. And they're going to knock you out immediately because you're weak to grass, so that's a big thing. But then you punch them again, and you take a knockout that way. You can use Mew to copy their attack and punch them twice, which is nothing that you could do. Iron Bundle makes it where if you can make it where they can't attack you. If they play Mist Energy, then your stuff like that. The game was really, really close. You can ping the bench Pokemon too, because they're not one-shotting your Pokemon outside of the Ogerpon. So you try to ping the bench and then make it where hey, now we got to deal with this active Pokemon, and that's how you beat this matchup, right? It is beatable. It was very, very close. I think I had a one prize card left, maybe two or something like that. The turning point of the game is I Iron Bundle, and then he coerced for a Jet Energy. It took a knockout, and I was like, whoops, well, there goes my Iron Bundle play. So that's unfortunate, because this one, makes the evolution Pokemon can't attack. They had no way of attacking, but then they played the Jet Energy, switch up to the active, and go down and went back down, right? So that's pretty good for them. Game 2, they actually started Dwebble and Pass, and I was like, we're in there. And then Game 2, I think they went second. Got the turn 1 Ascension, but I think by then time had been called and stuff like that. So that was my first tie of the game. In round number 6, we play against a Gardevoir. Now, Gardevoir, like I said, it is beatable. You can Ogerpon them and take multiple prize cards and stuff like that. But it's Gardevoir. It is still very, very hard. The cool thing about this matchup is they had 2 energies on a Fezandipiti. I was able to do some tricky stuff, knock out the Ogerpon. They would eventually get a Gardevoir out with 3 energies, and then I put 7 or 8 energies on the Ogerpon and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. Game 1, Game 2, they did Gardevoir stuff, and it was very long, and I think I even did a turn 2 double knockout, and they were still able to get a Gardevoir out, get another Ralts, and just start going ham and stuff like that. And unfortunately, we would lose that. In the Game 3, we didn't have time to set up. Both games were very, very long, back and forth, and I know people are oh, you should scoop sometimes and stuff like that. It was literally a back and forth game, so it's hard to know when that stuff is. So that's round 6. And so round 5 and 6 both went to time. You got to remember this. So round 7, I sit down, and it gets On Guard, fellow content creator, and we sit down, and he's really hyped because he's doing great, and he just wants Larry to have he wants to make day 2 because he said he hasn't made day 2 in 2 years, and I'm like, okay. And then he's I want Larry to have a Limitless page, which is a supporter card that he's playing in his deck. And I'm I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to chill here. And I'll say, you know what? I'm not going to have any influence. Whatever you want to do. And then he goes, would you want to tie? And I was like, actually, yes. Because at this point, I didn't eat anything. Usually I bring snacks to me at regionals. And I lost or left into the hotel room I don't know where it went. My snacks were gone. Maybe the Cookie Monster stole them. I have no idea. He then says, do you want to tie? I'm like, yes, please. And so at that point, I am now 4-0-3, which now puts me at 15 points. The big thing about this, and now it changes my bracket back to 5-2, right? So we're sitting at 5-2, and I can either A, play it out, right? And try to make it go into day 2 as 5-0-3. But I sit down, my opponent's like, hey, do an ID, I just want to make day 2 and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm down. I'd rather try to have a shot to make top 64 for a booster box. I don't know if top 32 is out of the way at 404. Probably wasn't. I mean, I think if I went out, I still could make top, I could still make top 8 at, like 802 or something, or 1004 or something like that. So I was like, yeah, we'll tie. We'll take it. We'll both get a cut. If I went out, then we're good to go. It was just nice not to play Pokemon for 4 rounds. I'm gonna be honest, or for 2 rounds. It was nice, to be honest, because I had back-to-back times, so I was able to walk around, look at the vendor, stuff like that, and kind of enjoy it. And then we play round number 9, actually, day 1. So this is the phase 2 of the tournament, and we play against a Raging Bolt deck. And I'm very happy because Raging Bolt is the deck, you know, I want to hit, and it's a good matchup, but it was like a Raging Bolt box. They played Terrapagos, they played Glass Trumpet, I think they played like Professor's Turo and stuff. It was crazy. Game 1, unfortunately, I didn't find like a bunch of energies and stuff like that. Game 2, I actually got like a Lillie's Clefairy like pretty quickly online, and was able to get that. I think it went down to like pretty close to time in game number 2 with like 5 minutes left. And by game number by close to that one, we both got like 3 Pokemon down, and we're like, yeah, we'll just tie here because we can't do anything. So I'm sitting at end of day 1, 404. Or 405, which is insane. So we went 4-0 to 405, and I was like, ah! But at least we're in day 2, we're playing. Round 10, I hit a good friend of mine, Tyler. Unfortunately, when I say he didn't find a Buddy Poffin at all, he didn't find a Buddy Poffin at all. And this is really important because he was playing Dragon Ball Dusknoir. I was able to pretty much just chain like Wellsprings over and over again. He scooped pretty quick at game 1, and game 2 he was like, all right, you got it. Game 2 is where I got like the 6 energies on the Wellspring, and I had like back to back knockouts if I wanted to, like 4 knockouts pretty easily. And he was like, yeah, I can't. And I felt bad because he's a really good friend of mine. Known him for a very, very long time, but beating him like that was very unfortunate. Round 11, we played against a Rage Bolt deck. This is more of the standard kind of build. My mind is going blank because they're all kind of the same. I'm trying to think if anything cool happened in this game. It was a win-loss win. I don't remember the dynamics of it, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I don't know. It was, I can't remember, and I apologize. But once again, we got Lilie's Clefairy and stuff like that. We can one-shot the Pokemon, you know, with the Ogerpon if need be and stuff like that. Lilie's Clefairy with Legacy Energy is great. Bloodmoon taking a knockout is fantastic as well for that late game attack because everybody has 240 HP or less. Most of them aren't playing Charms and stuff like that anymore, so it's pretty winnable. But round 12, we played against a Ogerpon box deck, which is very interesting. And like I said, I think it's more winnable than I think it is. But it's my first time ever playing against it because it had did well the week before, and I really didn't have time to test the week of Pittsburgh. That theory was you like Wellspring Ogerpon, take multiple knockouts, right? And you can like maybe, you know, Cornerstone them or something, and they have to use their own Cornerstone or something like that. The game was very, very back and forth and stuff, and blah, 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 blah. The turning point of the game, in game number 1, he attacks with the turtle. The second attack for Topaz Bolt makes it where basic Pokemon can't hurt it unless they're colors. I am silly and like try to go for like a boss order play to like bring up a bitch Pokemon or something, or like Iono them or something. Oh, I was gonna like Iono them and like punch them with like turtle. I don't know. I don't remember what I was gonna do. But the play that I should have did is there was an out where I could have got my Bloodmoon out and one shot them with the Bloodmoon, and I didn't do that for some reason. And I just never played against a deck, so that was like just a misstep my part, because it was like late game. He did like because if I did that, I don't think there's a way he could attack again, because he had used Crispin plus Crystal on the turtle, and then if I Blood Moon it, then like I don't think he had a way to really retaliate unless he plays his own Blood Moon and like a boss or something like that. Maybe. That's the thing I think of. I don't know. And in game 2, I unfortunately, we're playing back and forth. He has like 2 prize cards left. I put down Blood Moon, attached Legacy, Iono to 2. I look down and I have 6 bench Pokemon. I look across and he doesn't have the stadium down, so I scoop. I'm like, yep, I accidentally dropped 6 Pokemon. We're good. And so that was 2 mistakes on my part. That was definitely the biggest misplays of the tournament for me that I know on top of my head. But that was just inexperience against that deck. I think it's still favorable for this deck. But I think you want to go first and like try to get set up and stuff like that. And like I said, if you're playing a deck that's fan rotom and stuff like that, you want to go first. So, just inexperience on my part. Round 32, we play against a Dragapult Dusknoir deck, and the story of this is they, not only did they Budew lock me, right, first of all, great opponent, he said he's been a fan of the channel for a long time, so that's fantastic to hear, but, not only did he Budew lock me, I don't think I had, like, any Ogerpons at all or anything. It was just like really bad. It was so bad. When I said I didn't get set up at all, in game 2 he did this really cool play where he can like just like board wipe me with like all the Dusknoirs and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. Game 1, what was pivotal is like I knocked out an active, knocked out the bench Duskull, then he was able to immediately get another Duskull out and start swinging, and like with that second Duskull he was able to then like rare candy Dusknoir or go into Dusclops or something, and that next turn he was able to like pick up 4 prize cards or something crazy. So he was like getting super consistent, had the Budews and stuff like that. It was a great game. Usually it's still a fine matchup even with the Budews and stuff, but I just didn't find I didn't find a Teal mask. If I'm 99% sure that's what happened. I remember this game very vividly. I just couldn't find any Ogerpons. I remember like game 2, I was like super late and I was like, I finally got Ogerpons, but by then it was like already game over. So it is what it is. And that was probably like the only time I didn't like get set up at all. I just didn't do anything. But I did get Budew lock. But we did play Dragapult 2 other times, and they also Budew locked me. But we were able to start with the Teal mask and be fine. So that's the big thing there. And then round 4, 2 pick, it's a Joltik box deck, the first one of the tournament, which I think is a super favorable matchup. Most of your Pokemon have abilities. Like I said, they can hands you, but then you can Teal mask them. Actually, decked them out game. Well, I didn't deck them out. Game 1, I was able to like sob, boss, sob, and then I was able to take like a double knockout on like a Fezandipiti and a Mew. Yeah, because I eventually would start sobbing a Fezandipiti, or was it Fezandipiti somewhere? I don't know. I think I like sobbed the Fezandipiti a bunch of times, and then brought up Latias, something to sob, and then like brought up Mew and sob, and took like a double knockout that way or something, because the Fezandipiti had 3 energies, so he started cruel arrowing, and I was like, no, we're not cruel arrowing. So I brought up bitch Pokemon. He had already played like Catcher and like Alex and stuff like that, so that was cool. And then round 2, I don't think like he didn't hit anything. It was just really bad. He started like Joltik Miraidon hands or something. Couldn't really find anything else. I assume he prized like maybe a lightning Pokemon or something, or I don't know what happened, but it was over pretty quickly. I guess maybe he prized other hands or something, because that's pretty much just swing with a Cornerstone like ASAP. I think I might have got a second Cornerstone set up too, so we were just like cooking. I was like, yeah, we're good. Like, we're good. This matchup's so cool for us, so good for us. And yeah, and there we go. We ended up at 725, 205 plays. So, you know what? We'll take it. We take it. We, coming out of the woodwork, coming and playing Pokemon, having fun. These are probably my only regionals of the year, if I think correctly. I'll probably try to go to NEIC. I'm not sure. We'll see. But still, 205 coming out here playing a fun deck. But yeah, there we go. A little recap of Pittsburgh regionals. If you talked to me this weekend, I had a lot of fun talking to people and stuff like that. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the little video, little recap. 30 minutes long. I know I can rant on and on. And if you're still here, let me know. Alrighty, guys.